All right, guys. So, welcome to this weekly Spaces session, all things markets with Business Insider India and StockTwits. Joining me in this conversation, as usual, is my co-host Ashwin. Our guest today evening is Nitin Dharmawat. Nitin started his journey in equity markets around 20 years back as a hobby and ended up pursuing CFA from the CFA Institute US. In this time, Nitin has worked with leading groups like Crisil and L&T and is an out-and-out value investing fundamental guy. He is also a freelancing columnist and writes regularly for Live Mint and Hindustan Times. Thank you so much, Nitin, for taking the time out and doing this with us.
Thank you, Yash. All my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Awesome. So, Nitin, the first question, obviously, everyone has on their mind right now is the ongoing market correction. Are we in a bear market? What should investors do?
See, best time to buy the in the market is when there is a correction. If there is a correction right now, then it is the best time to market. There is no doubt about it. And we have to apply our mind rather than working with the emotions. Behavioral aspect is very critical in the stock market, and hardly people appreciate this as a fact. We have to think rationally, then emotionally. That's a very critical aspect. And whenever there is a correction, there is an opportunity to buy stocks at a reasonable valuation, and that's very important for us to make money from the long term perspective. So if there is a correction, there is the value is available in the market, we should buy. Can there be more correction? Of course, there is a possibility of more correction as well. Then we'll buy more. So maybe we can buy gradually, depending on that. But we should not miss the opportunity of buying the stocks, good quality stocks, at a reasonable valuation during corrections. We should never do that.
Now, I know we're not technically down 20% to call this a bear market, but do you believe that, are we at the cusp of a bear market? Like, what is your view? Where do you see the markets say for the rest of the year?
See, very difficult question. Yes. So what I did was I did an analysis from 1995 till 2021, uh, 21, 22. So I covered almost 27 years. And what I looked at was previous year high versus current year close. And out of this 27 years, market closed negatively 13 times, positively 14 times. Okay, within that 13 times, when so it's almost 50-50, not 2020 what Ashwin was talking about a few minutes ago. So 50-50.
Oh God, that's a terrible joke.
so so out of those 13 times when it closed negatively, more than 20% correction was there 7 times, almost 50% again, and 10 to 20% correction was 4 times, and up to 10% 2 times. So almost every second year we would see such corrections happening. So it is nothing new. It was happening earlier, it is happening now also. It's only that our memory may be short and we forget that what has happened in 2018 or maybe 2013 or 2009 or maybe 2003 or 2000 or 98. We forget those years. There were severe corrections in those years as well. So there is nothing new. It is happening again. Corrections are always good, an opportunity to deploy funds. And when these corrections have happened, subsequent rallies were also strong. Now look at what has happened from 2020 bottom. Almost 2 years have gone, 2 years and 1 month. We have not seen any correction. So correction was bound to happen. It is happening. It's a good opportunity for every one of us. There is some cleanup which is happening.
Thanks for that, Nitin. Just want to quickly have you come in on Moody's revising India's GDP down by 30 bips as well. What are your thoughts on this one?
See, I better do not comment on rating agencies. I have worked in one of the rating companies as well. What I have observed is that if I put a analogy, हिंदी मूवी में पुलिस सबसे बाद में आती है क्राइम होने के, है ना? so
Leading indicator for a bottom.
Yeah, so in many such situations, rating agencies when they are downgrading, we are very close to bottom in such situations.
Got it. Okay, that's a nice analogy. I'll probably use that again, and I'll give you credits when I use that line. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think in one of these spaces sessions, I think I had posed a similar question, and the guest was very kind enough to explain that if you are someone who listens to these rating agencies, that means you're driving your car looking in the rear view mirror. So that is always not helpful. But Nitin, you mentioned about there being further market correction and all. Are you someone who will deploy cash at these current levels? Because uh, if you think that the markets have bottomed, you'd probably go all out right now. What is your strategy right now? Are you sitting on cash, or are you slowly and steadily deploying more money and buying on the dips?
So as I said, a few minutes ago, so there were 50% of the times during last 27 years when market corrected more than 20%. We corrected almost 15%, slightly more than that with last few days correction. So if we are very close to that 20% number, maybe we will be very close to bottom also. When market is correcting 15-20%, individual stock might have corrected 30-40-50% as well.
Yes.
And they are providing good opportunity. So why not deploy the funds? Why we have kept them? इसीलिए तो रखते हैं यार पैसा, अगर हमने साइड में रखा है तो, for exploiting such opportunities and definitely buying. और
All right.
आज भी खरीदा है. तो
Okay.
खरीदेंगे ही मतलब.
All right. So that's a very encouraging sign, at least for all those who are listening. But Nitin, also very important. Right now, much of the market action is dominated with what's happening on a very high level global macro sense. Interest rates going up. Is there any direct correlation between interest rates and market performance that you've seen in your 17-year, 20 years analysis that you've done?
Wonderful. So it's a good question, Yash. Uh, so uh, if you look at US interest rate cycle, okay, uh, in August 2000, it was at around 6.5%. It went down all the way to 0.99, below 1% in 2003. In 3 years, they did multiple cuts, and interest rates have come down from 6.5, peak of 6.5 to below 1%. And we know that why it was required, because in 2000, 2001, we know that there were several severe economic issues faced in USA, especially the dot-com bubble burst has happened, and severe economic pressure was there, and post that unfortunate WTC attack has happened. So Fed became really very aggressive during that time, and in cutting down the rates. And see what happened thereafter from 2003. From 2003, which was the bottom for the interest rate cycle, till 2007, Fed increased the rates again from 1% to 5.25%. And during the same period, Dow Jones has gone up from 7,500 to 14,000. It doubled actually during that period, 4 years. And again from 2007 to 2010, interest rates came down from the peak of 5.25, 5.3 to almost zero in 2009. And again, we know that what has happened in 2008, 2009. While during the same period, market came down when the interest rates were coming down. So if someone is saying that there is an inverse correlation with interest rate, if interest rates are increasing, market should always come down, it may not entirely be true. I agree to a great point that it could impact corporate earnings as well. But we need to be more focused on micro than macros. Focus on individual companies, sectors, and how are they going to behave in terms of opportunities which are emerging for them, rather than putting our energy only on interest rate cycle. It could be very deceptive as well.
So, Nitin, let's talk about sectors, right? Do you want to just tell me about a couple of sectors which you're particularly happy with, the way they're moving, and maybe talk about those that are not moving about as fast as you wish they would be?
Yeah, see some of the sectors that we are expecting to do well include sectors from export oriented manufacturing companies, for example capital good companies,
Got it.
When we are attending the con calls or when we are talking to the management, we are getting good feelers. And this capital goods industry has come out of from a big slack for a very long duration of almost 10 years. 10 years. So capital goods is one sector which is likely to perform good. Telecom, real estate, or financials, both private as well as PSU banks, power sector, pharma, cement, refineries, or rural economy related stocks. I said banking or maybe financials, where we could see that credit growth is happening, which is higher than the deposit growth right now. And with increasing interest rate, these banks will do quite well actually with higher interest rate. So they will mint money. Of course, we'll have to look at banking sector. We'll have to look at financial sector, and their valuations are again not very high. Uh, some of these are very reasonable valuations. Uh, Financials was or the banking sector was the sector in of 2018, 2017, 18, when it performed really well, and after that 3-4 years not much has happened. So it's a good sector to look at. Similarly, refineries, we could see their margins are going to improve substantially. Refinery margins are going to improve substantially, so we should look at that sector. It's a very interesting sector to look at. And then real estate, I said real estate, we have been bullish for almost 1.5 year now. And again, it has seen several issues in the past. It has seen demonetization, it has seen RERA, it has seen GST impact. So all those things have happened, and we have also seen that consolidation has happened. A lot of small real estate developers are out of business now. So those who are having very good balance sheet, strong balance sheet, those who can deliver, will be doing quite well in this market. And salaries have definitely gone up, especially in IT, if you look at, and that is going to impact the demand for the sector. So inflation could still be there, but still I don't think that it is that bad a situation right now.
This is incredibly useful. What about sectors which are not moving about as fast as you think they should be?
So these sectors, wherein see, right now all the sectors have come down actually, Ashwin. So I won't find a sector which is moving quite positively, except some of the sectors where the valuations were very high, including some of the companies from FMCG sector, or some of the companies from from, I would say, buy at any price kind of sector. So where the valuations have corrected, but not to that extent, including IT companies. So IT companies have also gone up substantially in last two years. And there is some correction, 25-30% kind of correction, but still more room is there, I feel, in that sector.
Lovely. Thank you. Yash?
All right. Actually, Nitin, my next question was on IT, and interestingly, Nomura came out with a report this week where they've downgraded the entire sector. Um, do you think is it too late, given that most of these names are already down 25-30% from the top? Do you see any value in, say, these mid cap IT names at current levels?
Uh, I see. I worked in IT company. Coincidentally, my partner was also in IT industry, uh, and we understand a little bit about this sector, and the kind of valuations which are there. Of course, digitization was a big story of last 2 years, and because of that, a lot of businesses come to this sector. But we'll have to also look at the sustainability of the business from long-term perspective, the kind of valuations that they are receiving, and the kind of cost pressures that they are having currently. Uh, some cost pressure may come down eventually, but still that is there, and the kind of attrition which we have witnessed in this sector is significant. And with respect to that, the correction in the prices is not in line with that. So I think there is more room for correction in IT. It has some more risk involved.
All right. Um, Nitin, I remember a few weeks back there was this WhatsApp forward doing the rounds about the mother of all rebalances happening and FIIs returning big time. We all know how that has played out, but do you see this trend continuing? Do you see FIIs selling with the same rigor going forward as well?
I think the FI selling rigor has come down. Definitely it has come down. And imagine the situation if they start investing again in India. If they stop and start investing again in India, uh, domestic investors are already buying, DIs are buying, retail investors are buying, and along with that, if FIs come back, it will be a huge rally in the market. So that kind of possibility is also there with their reduction in their sell-off. See, their sell-off will not continue for indefinite period. It has to stop, and they have been their selling was quite significant during last 1 year. And I feel that since it has come down, it has more chances to turn neutral to maybe positive.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Nitin. Nitin, I know that you've been in this space for a really long time. What are you making of all the unicorns that are getting listed and, generally the IPO fever that's been on for, about a year right now?
Uh, See, Ashwin, uh, for us, cash is king. Okay, even if company is making profit or not. So both these things are missing there.
Right.
Cash is missing and profit is missing. If, if it is not a cash, if it is not a profit, it's completely a difficult situation. It's more of a gas kind of situation. And if somebody is citing me an example of, say, for example, Amazon, when it got listed, it got corrected, and then it became very successful in the US market. And if somebody is saying that it could replicate in many unicorns over there, they need to understand that Amazon had a different kind of business model initially, and it got changed over a period of time. They made a lot of money because of their presence in AWS, Amazon Web Services. And because of that, a lot of cash has come in the company, and they became very profitable. That was one of the key reasons for the success of Amazon. Would it happen with several other companies from unicorn in India? I find it very difficult. Some of these companies still can do well, but I'm not too sure because when I don't see cash, I don't see profits, especially cash. I'm very reluctant in putting my money over there.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Nitin.
Awesome. Nitin, I cited Nomura earlier, but there was also another interesting report, this time from CLSA, where they are starting to see green shoots in the auto sector. Uh, are you of the similar, opinion? Do you believe that the worst may be behind for the auto sector? And do you have
Yeah,
any preferences on the space?
yeah, yes, we may be very close in auto sector at the bottom. Absolutely. CV cycle, we could also already see, some green shoots. Rather, there is a good demand which is getting witnessed when we talk to people from the industry, the manufacturers. There is a significant demand uptick in the CV side, and it could again come to other sector as well. So and the second part is within auto also there is a lot of disruption which is happening. We all know that what is happening in two-wheeler. So we'll have to be sensitive about that fact while we are thinking about investment in auto, rather than going for directly for two-wheeler kind of a company without having EV presence. We could choose an ancillary kind of company where valuations are still quite reasonable. If we are more sensitive about that, maybe it may be helpful.
All right, interesting. Nitin, a lot of people are also interested in knowing about ITC. Obviously, the stock is at 3-year high. I know you have done a case study on ITC. Can you share some of your insights on the company?
Yeah, sure. So it's a case study. It's not a recommendation. Again, no bias, sell or hold recommendation. I'm just talking about some past data, not giving any targets for future. Uh, what I would like to talk about is it has become a meme stock till a few months ago, and people started laughing on ITC performance primarily because of the stock performance. And if you look at and they were looking at it for this 5 year period starting from 2017 till 2022, and during that period stock has given almost zero return. It was at 278 in 2017, and if you look at today's price, almost the same. So it was almost stagnant during this 5 years period. It might have given dividend, and because of that the situation has happened. But if you look at prior to that, that is before 2017, those 10 years, ITC was a multi-bagger stock. See, ITC is a very large company, it's not a small company. And if it is becoming multi-bagger, it has given 6.6x return during those 10 years, which is a CAGR of 21%, and plus dividends. It gives handsome dividend, as I said earlier. So 6.6 bagger, then 5 years of stagnation, and prior to that, again before 2007, those 5 years, again there was a stagnation of 5 years, and prior to that, again it was a multi-bagger 4x in 5 years plus dividend. So 5 years of 4x, then 5 years of stagnation, then again almost 6.6x in 10 years, and then again stagnation of 5 years. So it's a natural cycle. We will have to also see that how stock has behaved, what were the valuations, and if it is correcting or if it is stagnant, it is showing that either the time correction or the price correction or a combination of both. I think that is what we were witnessing. It's a very good example, very good case study uh, uh, of the company which was stagnant for almost 5 years.
All right. Nitin, I also want you to come in on the news which came earlier this week with the government imposing export duty on steel products. We saw across the board selling happening in metal names. Obviously, today we had a bit of a pullback move in these companies. But what is your high level take on the move by the government?
See, the government move, I'm not too sure if it is going to reduce the price for the metal, or the steel available in the market. It has corrected a little bit prior to government
Mhm.
imposing that duty. But let us understand the demand scenario also. If domestic demand remains strong, the prices may not correct. Okay, uh, it may get stabilized to an extent or may see some marginal correction. But if the demand is there, it may not correct to that extent. One. Second is again the kind of valuations with which this metal companies or steel companies were running till few months ago. People were talking about super steel cycle and those kind of things, but they forgot that this really was started in steel not a year ago. It started sometime in 2017, 16, 17, rather 2016 actually, when the bottom has happened, when many steel companies were going through a stress period. They were reporting operating level losses. That is where the bottom was formed. Many companies went into NCLT during that time, Bhushan of the world and all those companies. So a lot of supply went out of the market. The demand scenario was not really good, and the bottom was formed, and market will find some reason. So some reason may come, maybe China imposing certain things, and then uh, globally also other companies might be facing similar kind of issues. Supplies might have been going out of market from there as well. So market will find some reason and the bottom will be formed. And once the bottom is formed, you have a significant rally. Now again, when you see the stocks, getting re-rated and became multi-bagger almost 10 times, 15 times from their bottoms. You need to be little careful when you are entering into such times. Really careful, and that's where the correction has happened. The stock which is trading at 180 now is 70. So even if today it might have gone up, but still the correction is severe in those companies.
All right. Also, another move this week. Again, all of these are, a lot of policy-related moves that are coming in from the government. And this time for the sugar sector, where they've capped the export limit to 10 million tons. So far, they've already agreed to export 8.5 million tons, which is already a record for that
Hmm.
matter. Was the kind of sell off that we saw in these sugar names overdone? Do you really think that this is that big of a deal? Because I think 10 million tons is not a small figure by any stretch of imagination. And with the kind of diversion that we are seeing towards ethanol, do you really think that this move would really be a negative in terms of earnings and for the kind of moves that we've seen?
Yes, yes, it is possible. We may see some more correction in the sector. Absolutely, it will impact the earnings for a bit, and of course, ethanol is going to compensate the story. But sugar as a base product may still have the issues in terms of the pricing or the realizations which it was getting earlier. So we may see some more correction over there.
Then I just
Okay.
want to quickly comment on, a few weeks back that we were told that we could invest in international stocks sitting from India. There was a lot of buzz around that, if I remember. I think it was
Ashwin,
earlier this month.
Ashwin, your voice is not audible.
Yeah,
Check. Am I audible? Am I better audible right now? One, two, three, four. How do I sound? Do I sound better?
Yeah,
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 all good.
perfect. Yeah.
Lovely. Nitin, I was just saying that, about a few weeks back, I think around the beginning of this month, when we learned that we could be investing in international stocks, there was a whole buzz around it. People were excited about it. But, last couple of weeks, really, again, I think that enthusiasm seems to be, slightly tapering. What is your take?
Uh, See, whenever the markets are going up, uh, people will be enthusiastic to put more money into the market. When there is a correction, they will, put their hands in their pockets rather than, taking their purse out to invest. They won't do that. It has to be reverse actually. So when the markets are coming down, you have an opportunity to invest. Similarly, if global markets have seen so much of correction, and valuations are reasonable in those markets, you could explore that now rather than doing that 2 years ago or a year back when the valuations were really crazy.
Got it. Yes.
Uh, Nitin, I just wanted to discuss about one more thing that after 2 straight years of stocks just constantly going up, this has also become a problem of behavior. Like you said, people have just become used to stocks going up and seeing their investments and their portfolios in the green. How important is controlling your emotions in this kind of market, and what are the what is your recommendation to most of these newbie investors that have entered the markets in the last couple of years?
So there is always an extreme thinking when optimism comes or when there is a panic selling or pessimism is there, and it behaves like a pendulum that forever swings between unsustainable optimism and unjustified pessimism, which makes the stocks either too expensive or too cheap. And that's where the fun is. If today you have to invest, you also have to compete against algos, for example, and the trades can be really quick. If somebody is doing a trading, uh, algos can kill that entire thing because it's very very quick. The decisions are taken at the fraction of a second. So what investors can do in such situation is to behave more responsibly, uh, to control their emotions, have more control on their behavioral aspect, think rationally, then emotionally. Do not get worried, unjustified way. Uh, have a view to hold the business rather than just looking at the stocks, where you are comfortable about understanding the business as well as the valuations, and keep your expectations to a minimum, so that you're not worried or you're not thinking too negative when it doesn't happen for a couple of months or maybe quarters or year, and expect the underperformance during that period. So if you are able to manage these things, then it will be helpful for you from in terms of investing during such carnage. Also, even if you are not investing, some of the things you should definitely do is to control your emotions. Since we can't control, if we are not able to control our emotions, we definitely can control the attention that we give to our emotions. And some of the ways are that we should have more, or rather, we should stay away from WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, social media groups. That is what I have been telling to new investors. Stay away as far as possible from media, print media, electronic media, where you see a lot of negativity coming in from such news. I'm saying, and then even if you are after that also, if you are distracted by emotions, then I recommend them three activities that you can keep yourself busy with. For example, act of random gratitude, which is extremely helpful. Meditation, or reading books, or reading, or doing something which is a part of your hobby, so very very helpful in putting away your mind from the carnage or from negativity.
That is lovely advice. Thank you so much for that. That is refreshingly different from what we usually hear when it comes to dealing with the bosses in stock markets. Thank you for that, Nitin.
Nitin, I just have one last market question. Because we spoke about autos, the big thing, or the big trend in autos is now EVs, and the way to play it was, or the way the transition rather would occur is through first the two wheelers and then the cars, because people have so much range anxiety and stuff. But even that hasn't quite picked off as people would have expected, obviously, with the unfortunate incidents around a lot of these EV two wheelers catching fire. Uh, how do you see this whole EV trend? Do you still think it is too early to jump the wagon, or like how do you play this space?
So I'll give you another example. Uh,
Mhm.
Year 1900, when 1900, 1910, 1920, during that period, when four wheelers or cars came in the US market, uh, there were 2,500 car manufacturers that time. 2,500, and
Wow.
all sort of cars were getting manufactured. So there were cars, by petrol, on diesel, on electricity, or EV during that time, kerosene. So all kind of technologies were coming in that time, and then it got stabilized, and only three players, remained in the fray. And we
Mhm.
know Ford, Chrysler, and GM. So only
GM.
three remained. Yeah, only three remained over a long period of time. Similar thing would happen in EV also, either in two wheeler or in four wheeler, any sector. Only two or three player in long term will survive. Ultimately, rest all will die. But the companies which are supplying to them would still be making profit. Companies which were supplying to them were still making profit, were still thriving on these players, because ultimately they will have to outsource certain things to these players. So we should, if we can't look at, and right now we don't have any critical listed player from OEM side, but we definitely have ancillary companies which are going to be suppliers to this company. We should look at those companies if we want to play the EV space.
Awesome. Um, One last question. I know I said this last time as well, but one last question, Nitin, from my side, is: are you seeing markets moving in favor of value from growth stocks? I mean, today we had a lot of these PSU banks go up. I don't know if there was any news per se to justify that. But a lot of these PSU smaller names doing well. Obviously, we discussed about ITC and how it is still one of the cheapest FMCG stocks out there. So, is that the way to probably navigate this volatility and say for the rest of the year, this would be the theme to be in?
I'm always for buying the pessimism. I'm always for contra investing. I'm always for value investing.
Awesome. But is that the pack that you are buying? Because I remember the first question
Absolutely.
you said that you are
Absolutely.
deploying cash at these levels. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Great. So
We have
Nathan, maybe
actually
just
recommended public sector banks also very recently.
All right.
which we have not done in last 4 years, but we have done it very recently.
Okay. Public sector banks and which other sector? Sorry.
Public sector banks, I'm saying, very recently, last week only we recommended.
All right. And any others besides PSU banks?
So we have, all the other sectors that we already talked about. Infra,
Acha.
we have
Okay.
capital goods is one of the largest, exposure that we have. Multiple stocks from that
Got
sector.
it. Got it. All
Real
right.
estate
So,
we have, hotels we have. So we have those presence, and we actually went quite early in those sectors. We were lucky also, I would say. But
mhm.
since we do a lot of contra investing, value investing, we went ahead and bought those when people were not ready to touch them.
Interesting. Nitin, we have a solid 150 plus people listening to us. We'll just open the floor for anyone. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask Nitin, please go ahead and send in your requests, and we'll give you the speaker access.
Absolutely. And a bit of ground rules out here. Please don't ask for specific stocks as such, because there can
Yeah.
be no end for that. We might as well have, you utilize this time with Nitin for something far more broader, which can be of use for a lot more people, rather than, just work on one specific script or so. And again, do send in your requests if you have any questions for Nitin and Yash also, and we'll have our moderators allow you into the chat. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we have the first request from Ganesh. I'll just quickly add you. All right.
Hey Ganesh, please introduce yourself with a one-liner about who you are before you have your question for Nitin, please. Ganesh, you are muted. You'll have to click on the mic icon before you ask your question. We also have Sumit Jaitli, who's been promoted as a speaker. Sumit, both of you need to unmute yourself before you ask us your questions. Um, so click on the mic icon and then ask us your questions, please.
Ganesh, if you have joined the spaces through your computer or your laptop, then you might not get the option to unmute yourself.
Yes.
Hi, can you listen to me now, sir?
Yes, we
Yes.
can, Ganesh.
Please
Hi,
Yeah,
go
thanks
ahead.
for joining us,
yeah.
Ganesh.
Thank you for the
Hi,
opportunity
Ganesh.
you have given. It is a lovely space. I felt I have been in many spaces in investing community. I just want to have one opinion regarding IT sector, which has been my favorite since 2000. I can say because IT sector is
Wonderful.
the only sector where I feel that India has a very good positive approach and strong capabilities. And if you can give me some color on this, how can IT sector perform in near future or long around 1 year perspective? It will be very helpful. Thank you very much for all the experts and guides. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question, Ganesh. Really appreciate you joining us here. Nitin?
Yeah. Thank you, Ganesh, for asking this question.
Thank you, sir.
Uh, and since you are, in IT from 2000 onwards, you would know that how it has grown leaps and bounds, and of course, it has brought a lot of revenue opportunities for every one of us in the market. Uh, and we have to also be sensitive about the valuation, as I was talking about little early. I'm not negative on IT as such, sector as such. It will provide good opportunity, but from the valuation perspective, strictly from valuation perspective, I'm not very comfortable. So if you look at year 2000 when the peak has happened, for example, Infosys or maybe Wipro, they are great companies, but going to the same price, and then it saw correction, meltdown has happened in that sector, and then that took several years to reach the same price. So valuations are very critical. I'm not saying that Infosys or Wipro will correct to that extent again in this year or next year, but I'm saying that in general we have to be little sensitive about the valuations per se. And the valuations are still not very supportive. Many companies have gone up beyond their capability, beyond their justified valuations. So we need to be little careful in terms of the price that we are paying right now for these companies.
Thank you for that, Nitin. We've got Sumit Jaitli, and we also have Ram Manohar. Sumit, you have unmuted yourself. Please give us a quick introduction and your question for Nitin.
Hi, sir. I am a chartered accountant. But my question was on IT, and I think it's already been answered.
Oh,
Wonderful,
lovely.
Sumit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Why is
So, sir,
IT
one,
bubbling
one,
up?
one, one thing is I want to add these IT companies. Couple of months ago, the targets by all the broker houses was around 30 to 40% higher than what the prices is. Now, now after this 2 months, they are having these downgrades. Now, at one side, we are having these companies like HCL Tech or Infosys who are giving a very good guidance for the quarter one and quarter two, and they are
Correct.
saying they are not seeing any margin pressure or something like that. So, what happened in this 1 or 2 months? What you think that brokerage houses must have seen so that
So, Sumit, uh, okay, you complete. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, must have seen that they have downgraded the targets by 20 to 30%.
Absolutely. Okay. So, Sumit, go back in year 2017. Okay. 2017, when there was a complete, uh, dislike for IT sector. Complete apathy for the sector. Nobody was interested to invest in the sector. TCS, Infosys, they were, coming down every quarter, and the results were also not very healthy during that period. Maybe a quarter they might have missed, or 2 quarters they might have missed, and people started writing that there is a death of the sector, because they had started saying that we are not doing any great work uh, in this. We are doing, police job over here, and our association is mostly related to not adding significant value, and we are into services, we are not into product space, all sort of things I could hear that time. And then, suddenly things changed, and we became IT sector became, talk of the town, when things moved slightly. So, the from complete pessimism to full optimism, this is the same thing that has
Hmm.
happened over a period of last 5 years. When there is a pessimism, nobody was interested. When there is an optimism, everybody, wanted to take part in that growth. So we need to be little sensitive, little careful when there is a huge built up in price. The stocks have run up substantially. They might have run up beyond their fundamentals. So we need to be careful about that. And it doesn't mean that IT story is over. It's only
Yeah.
the valuations which have run ahead of the fundamentals. Uh, so they may come back. They may, in price wise, or maybe, over a period of time, they, if they don't correct, they may not give substantial return. Those kind of things can happen. As we were talking slightly, before, about ITC, what has happened over there? It has given substantial return, and then no return for almost 5 years. So either price correction or time correction, or both, could be visible in such stories. So we need to be little careful while we are putting our money on stories which have already, moved up during last couple of years.
Yeah, I just want to come in on this one, Sumit, to explain you, because you said, what's changed. So one thing that you need to see, in this IT fall, is that you can't look at it in isolation. You need to see what is happening even in the US. So the Nasdaq is down like 20-25% year to date. All your tech large cap heavyweights are, seeing such a massive correction. Now, on the other hand, you have inflation, which, like the latest Doctor Strange movie, is breaking all records globally. In India, thankfully, it is not so much. But most of these companies, they get business from US and, globally, Europe and all. And if they are seeing such high inflation, and there is a looming fear of a recession that might happen, that would mean that companies would be disincentivized to spend so much on IT as they were, say, in the last few years. Okay, so basically, higher interest rates raises your borrowing cost, which in turn disincentivizes hiring and generally slows down the economy, right? So if these companies do not expect to make the same kind of profits that they were making, say, for the past several years, then obviously their willingness to spend on, their digital infrastructure and their digital backbone will also go down. Now, this is not to say that their digital spends will turn negative. It's just that it will not be at the same or higher pace. Now, having said that, like Nitin Bhai said, okay, because that was one sweet spot which was always seeing record growth, and look at their order books. The guidances were so strong, they could justify the valuations that they were trading at. And now with things changing and people talking about a recession, obviously you can't justify these valuations. So that is why we are seeing this correction happening. So that would be one way that I would put it. Uh,
Absolutely,
besides besides the
absolutely.
margin pressure story
So
that we also.
market will always have some reasons
Yeah,
to correct, or market will always have some reasons uh, when there is a outright pessimism in companies, sectors, stocks. Unless
exactly.
there is a permanent disruption which is happening in a sector, we should not be worried about undue pessimism. If there is undue pessimism which is going on in sectors, when things turn for good, they turn really good for your portfolio.
Exactly. I hope that helps, Sumit. So we'll move on to the next question. Karan, we might have to wait because actually Wealth was had sent the request earlier, and he's been patient enough to wait for his turn. So we'll take Wealth first. You can unmute yourself and take the question.
थैंक यू आयुष जी। नमस्कार आप नितिन जी को। नितिन जी, मेरा एक प्रश्न जो है फार्मा सेक्टर के संबंध में है। फार्मा सेक्टर में काफी समय से करेक्शन चल रहा है, काफी स्टॉक 50% के लगभग भी करेक्ट हो चुके हैं। तो फार्मा सेक्टर पर आपका क्या व्यू रहेगा कि इसमें क्या इस समय सिर्फ
नमस्कार सर।
करने का
मुझे
होता है?
लगता है फार्मा सेक्टर को देखना चाहिए, स्पेशली जो स्ट्रॉन्ग कंपनीज है उनको देखना चाहिए। करेक्शन बहुत अच्छा हुआ है वहां पे, बिल्कुल आई एग्री विथ यू। और ये सेक्टर को इग्नोर नहीं करना चाहिए, बिल्कुल देखना चाहिए। इसमें इसमें स्टॉक्स को हमें कंसिडर करना चाहिए।
अच्छा सर, एक चीज मैं और जानना चाह रहा था इसमें में सर, अभी जो ऐसे आईटी सेक्टर की बात चल रही थी और वैल्यूएशन के पर भी चर्चा हो रही थी, तो सर जैसे वैल्यूएशन में चलिए स्ट्रेच होंगे या हायर साइड पे चल रहे होंगे, परंतु अभी सर रिसेंटली मैंने देखा मार्च के महीने में कोफोर्ज में एक बहुत बड़ी डील हुई, 9% की इक्विटी ट्रांसफर हुई और उसमें हमारे म्यूचुअल फंड और एफआईज दोनों ने ही उसमें बाइंग की और प्रमोटर ने उसको सेल किया और वहां से फिर वो 20% का और करेक्शन हुआ। तो क्या उस समय जब ये डील हो रही होगी तो क्या उस समय कुछ इस प्रकार का नहीं आइडिया लग पाया होगा फंड्स को कि ये
नहीं,
ओवर वैल्यूड है
आई
और
थॉट
यहाँ पर इसमें डील करना उचित नहीं रहेगा?
नहीं, आपके बीच में आवाज कट गई। यश, आपने कुछ क्वेश्चन सुना क्या पूरा?
अच्छा
या
सर,
बट
मैं
आई थिंक
दोबारा से
सर
करता हूँ,
वो
फिलहाल
थोड़ा
आप किसी
स्टॉक
और को कर दीजिए
स्पेसिफिक हो
क्योंकि हमारी
जाएगा।
आवाज यहाँ सही नहीं आ रही।
हाँ सर, एक्चुअली वो थोड़ा स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन है, एंड वीड लाइक टू कीप इट मोर ब्रॉडर एंड सेक्टर वाइज। एंड आईटी आई थिंक हम लोग ने एड्रेस कर लिया है, तो जस्ट फॉर कंप्लायंस पर्पसेस टू अवॉइड एनी इश्यूज, स्टिकिंग टू दी सेक्टर वाइज. So we'll move forward. I think Rama is next in line.
Hi.
Please
Hi,
unmute yourself.
hi, Nitin and Yash. Thanks so much for allowing me to ask the question. My question is regarding fertilizer as a sector. I think, as we understand, on one side we have very high raw material costs. I think these costs last time we were able to see during 2008 and 2009. On the other side, there has been a robust demand also across the world. So, on this premise, is it fair to understand that this could be a good sector for investment? A. Second part is I also understand that fertilizer as a sector is dependent on a lot of subsidies from the government. Would that be a threat just in case if the government fails to abide, to pay back on time and stuff? Thank you once again.
No, yeah, Rama. So absolutely, fertilizer is a good sector to look at, especially the kind of monsoon prediction which is there, and the rural economy, farm sector may do well, and there is a dependency, of course, on subsidy, but with the the clearance of subsidy payments done by the government earlier, uh, it was quite fast compared to the earlier years. So I don't see that as a big risk right now. The subsidy is a big risk right now, and sector is should continue to do well.
Awesome. Karan, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Karan, we are losing you, Karan. You're a bit patchy at
Your
this
voice is
point.
cracking. Yeah.
Am I
Karan,
audible?
we are losing you. You're very, very, very patchy.
Or I think there might be some issue with his
Karan, we'll
connection.
come back to you, Karan. We can
Sure,
go
sure.
to
If I'm not audible, I'll come back.
yes, you are. I no, you're
Yeah.
not.
Am I now?
Yes, now we.
Yeah, slightly
Okay, I'm
better.
so
Yes.
sorry. I'm so sorry. So, a couple of quick questions.
Hello.
Or I think he has dropped off. Ravindra, you want to go next?
Hey, yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Perfectly.
Hey, Nitin, good evening. Yeah, it was again great listening to you. Uh, and I was delighted hearing your thought on how to take mood off from market, that instant, that gratification and doing other stuff were actually very refreshing. I want to know one thing. Like we all are saying that there has been very good correction in the market and everyone should start nibbling. Is there any quantitative parameter we can gauge that which says that the correction has been deep enough? Say we are tracking, say, FII outflow, or any quantitative parameter which says that this is more time to increase your allocation or reduce your allocation when there is a bear market ongoing. Any thought on that?
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, good talking to you, Ravindra. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for the question. A very difficult one to answer actually, to identify tops or bottoms. Very, very difficult question. Because it's something which is, there is a lot of disturbance which I could hear. Can you go on mute, Ravindra? Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. So it's a very difficult question to answer whether it is a top or the bottom. Nobody will be able to identify tops and bottoms. What we can do is we identify certain parameters wherein we see that and even not only market. I'm saying that in general about the companies that we are holding. Okay. So if we are finding that the sector has run ahead of its fundamentals, for example, IT, which has seen significant growth, and the company's stocks were moving up sharply. Uh, say, for example, you sold out an IT company at 100 rupees. And it turned out to be too early, and stock really went up 5 6 times. It has happened in 2000 as well as in 2020-22 period as well. So what you can do is you take out or leave that company in a staggered manner. Maybe on each rise you take some exit, and hitting the top may be a luck. Okay, but if you are close to top or maybe in between there, you still make a lot of money. Leave something for others also on the table. Go with that mindset. And while doing the bottom fishing or buying when the corrections are happening, the same strategy can be deployed because nobody knows where is the bottom. Even I don't know if it is a bottom or it could correct another 10%, 15%. If it corrects another 10, 15%, stocks can come down again 20, 30%. So we can go in a staggered manner while we are buying. We can go again in a staggered manner while we are selling. Similarly, when we are looking for buy or sell individual stocks, we have various parameters in terms of valuation, and that depend on the sector. Maybe if it is a cement sector, I would look at per ton valuation of that company, the growth possibilities, the kind of sales which are happening, the competition. There are multiple things that I would have to look before I take that call of reducing or exiting from that sector or from that company. So similar thing can be done for other companies and sectors.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Ravindraji. And I know we've got a couple of more minutes. I think we have 3 more minutes before we have to wind shop. And I'm glad to have Sushil Kedia ji come in. And sir, over to you for the last question of the day and or last thoughts of the day before we wind up all things markets with Stockwits and BI. Sushil ji?
When Sushilji
Okay.
is there, you should have started with him.
Next session with him. So,
So do we have a hard stop of 3 minutes,
Go ahead, Sushilji.
yeah,
or
It
we
would
please
be
can
go
pleasure
ahead,
to
sir.
soften
talk
it,
to you.
or we can soften it by 5 6 minutes more?
No, no, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
As
So,
long as Nitin sir does not have a problem.
No, absolutely no. It is a pleasure to talk with.
Awesome. Great way to wrap the session. Chalo.
so see, this correction has been a dirty phase of the market. While indices have apparently made a reasonable correction, there are endless number of sectors and even larger number of course, much larger number of stocks that have been mutilated, not just decimated, वो बैंड बजा के छोड़ दिए. So let's break this conversation into two parts: indices and stocks. So बच्चे की जान लोगे क्या के पॉइंट पे बहुत से हाई क्वालिटी नेम्स है. एमआरएफ चला ही नहीं, बॉश को ठोक ठाक के अपने रगड़ के खत्म कर दिया, सारे एफएमसीजीज को जमीन में उतार दिया, फार्मा पाताल में घुस गया. Cement has come off, Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Finserv, 40%, 35% knocked from the top. So individual stocks have had a beating that is, in say last 5 years, only second worst to what happened in the 4 months of 2020. In 2020, the index also broke down so much. Now, this is one historical backdrop. And the second one are my conjectures about the coming future. See, if dollar dadagiri has been around the world ever since Bretton Woods Pact fell down in 1974. अमेरिका के बाप का राज चल रहा है, रिकॉर्ड घाटा मारता है, record currency print karta hai. They don't need to produce anything because of the liquidity loop. Say, in a simpler term, an example will help understand this. Bombay Stock Exchange, world's fastest exchange, best technology, no corporate governance issues. But if everybody decided to meet at NSE and the liquidity is there, and the opium of liquidity continues to keep Bombay Stock Exchange a non-entity within the stock exchanges, and despite all crises inside NSE, कोई fundamental बराबर नहीं है. There is no good reason why we should continue to trade at NSE. But because every other idiot is there, so I'm happy to be an idiot at NSE instead of even looking at BSE prices. So liquidity and the too big to fail. So this dollar dadagiri that has been going on, nobody has been, so many erudite scholarly people come on Twitter spaces. काम की बात मिस हो जाती क्योंकि everybody is looking at momentum. Everybody is in an inertia of motion of the ongoing emotions in the name of fundamental analysis most of the time. See, I'll tell you what. If America has had the highest inflation and it is raising interest rates the most rapidly, then neither the interest rate parity theory of currency prices nor the inflation parity of currency prices should allow the dollar to become stronger. So, in economics, in finance, what remains missing is common sense. No special sense can be higher than common sense, and the age old common sense is jiski lathi uski bhains. America is a rogue of a military power. It goes and attacks countries. It's its birthright. कहीं भी जाके घुस जाएगा. यूक्रेन के अंदर रशिया ने अटैक किया. No, 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 they cannot attack. No, 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 we are going to bring the world too close to a world war. So, anyways, let me not make it a political conversation. Let me rather put it in a softer language. The aberration of markets is where the clue always to what the market is going to do in the next phase. So, this dadagiri of the dollar index that was brought all the way to 105, very, very close, rather a tad higher than the peak we made in the 2020 crisis. Forget the perfect parity, just look at the directional bias. 2020 का मार्केट जब बॉटम बना, डॉलर इंडेक्स ने 104 का टॉप बनाया, and now with a slightly higher top, where too many fraudsters of quants on Twitter will tweet very generalistic, both sided tweets. Mark this level; it will be very important for many years. Multi-year breakout. What does this mean? It's a trap for the minds. When you go to more detailed analysis, the fractal way of looking at things, Elliott way is one way of looking at it, and I'm not swearing by it. But yes, if I will take any conjectures or speak my mind, it will always be with confidence because I've ruled out all other possibilities as inferior. But again, as a trader and an investor, I have my risk management and I can change my opinion and my positioning if new evidence arises. I think there's a major top that has come in place on the dollar index. 65% weightage of that is the euro. And if you look at the euro chart, it will be easier to believe that a major worldwide currency regime shift is coming in place. And euro is 65% because the Swiss franc, after being in a 5-7 year sideways band, was broken out upwards. Dollar index ne dadagiri machali. Usually the Japanese yen is the penumbra in the shadow of dollar. That is, it is the lighter, in less visible shadow of the dollar. If the dollar gets stronger against the other major five G5 currencies out of the G7, dollar is one, Japanese yen is one, so the remaining five currencies, the Japanese yen will become even stronger, and vice versa. This time, even that long-term 30-year relationship was broken. That dollar को मजबूत रखने के लिए Japanese yen को भी push कर दिया. What has happened effectively? See, the Lalanomics can be no inferior than any economic theories. So, from my own favorite perspective of Lalanomics, जिसकी लाठी उसकी भैंस, and if there is an incentive to manipulate, चोरी करने का अगर पैसा मिलेगा तो चोर सिस्टम में जरूर बनेंगे, और वो किसी भी लेवल पे हो सकते हैं, हेड्स ऑफ स्टेट भी हो सकते हैं. So, what has been done by creating this currency aberration worldwide? America became a quick political exporter of its crisis-like inflation, and inflation started rising in other places. But any artificial thing, any unnatural thing, any flexing of the muscles based on only whey protein without other proper nourishment and nutrition and rest and relaxation and proper guidance, nothing in this world can be, the smart fixes are not the long-term way of life. So eventually, when the dollar index came up to this point, it slid back to 101. It might go back and kiss that 105 once more. And because of that, I'm not yet going to thump the table. But on this call today, I'm going to forearm and forewarn you that when the whole world is so pessimistic, when the whole world knows everything, nobody is talking about one day suddenly Yelensky might take a $10 billion position on futures and might go and touch the feet of Putin, or even Putin, after having loaded up enough, might just simply say, okay, we have taught you a lesson, let Donbass be Donbass. So, these are very idiosyncratic risks that can slap on the face of a bear. As much as the bull is facing so many visible risks, the challenge with markets is anything that is visible, minds and wallets adapt to it. And what is not getting discussed and not even in your consciousness, that's the true risk. So I'm not concluding on that, but the dollar reversal makes, and then if dollar is the major currency of the world, even while euro is, if I were to construct a all asset model, a very comprehensive multi-factor model, then euro effectively becomes the largest financial asset in the world if dollar is the global currency. And because of the gravitational pull of euro, I'm telling you a secret that has been working for last 25 years, ever since euro came into place. There's a very strong positive correlation between all financial assets and euro. So if my bet here is, with some stop loss, that the euro may be in for a mind-numbing rise over the next 1 year, and the dollar index might go back to 88.
All right.
This may sound like vulgar right now, and please allow me to conclude in next 10 lines. It's a big warning bell. मंदी मंदी करके कहा नीचे 15,000 तक लेकर के क्या नोबेल प्राइज ले जाओगे घर पे? 5% ही तो हुआ ना इंडेक्स पे. और अगर ये इंडेक्स 20,000 हो गई, see, nobody will punish any asset manager, investment manager, advisor, or no family members will chastise you to have lost some money while everybody was losing in bear markets. But चढ़ते बाजार में मंदी में खड़े रह गए, the kind of turbidity this market displayed, volatility will be a wrong word. The kind of viscosity with which prices moved. Volatility is a mathematical misnomer. I think the same viscosity may remain. It may not be a smooth bull market, but a massive price markup phase. जहाँ से टनाटन 30-30% बजाज फाइनेंस बजाज फिनसर्व को खींच देगा, सीमेंट का स्टॉक 40% बढ़ जाएगा, रिलायंस यहाँ से 3100-3200 का भाव हो. आई एम नॉट फोरकास्टिंग. That possibility clearly exists on the chart, and there is no way I am able to dismiss it. I can't play for it right away. नेक्स्ट रेजिस्टेंस ऑन निफ्टी 16,600, वो टूटेगा 17,400, उसके बाद 18,600 पे डबल टॉप आएगा. तो इंडेक्स इज गोइंग टू बी इन अ वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स फॉर्मेशन. अर्ली डीएनए साइंस ऑफ दैट हैव बीन विजिबल ऑन द इलीट वेव्स. दिस मार्केट मे नॉट ऑफर a comfortable ride into a new high because of the so many factors around. And when that eventually will come, और उसके बाद जब हम बोलेंगे ना भाव भगवान है, आ गया भाव, छोड़ो यार, अब ये जब तक रशिया का वॉर ओवर होगा आपको 19,000 की इंडेक्स कर देंगे. So that is one serious possibility. Not participating in it, no trade is equal to no loss, is a stupid idea. One round of success or failure will cause another round of success or failure. 99.999% human beings are unable to live in that sthit pragya state of mind where today's life is not going to have any inputs from yesterday's life. Most traders, their confidence level, their thinking, or even the system trading people do, if they are going to recalibrate their system, and ultra high frequency trading system also will recalibrate data every evening, because one full day's trading is equal to 1 decade. So nobody can completely dissociate with the past. यहाँ नहीं लिया, टुकड़े टुकड़े में थोड़ा थोड़ा लेना शुरू करो, स्टॉप लॉस लगा के जहां जहां इंडिविजुअल स्टॉक्स में पैटर्न्स आ रहे हैं. एंड टू सम अप, आई फील more than an analysis, I feel the initial phase to maintain this sense of deep fear, like Reliance within oil and gas stocks, it's still classified as that, or even if you take it as a telecom stock, or even in retail, किसी भी एंगल में ले लो, रिलायंस बढ़ता चला जाएगा और इन तीनों सेक्टर्स के कोई भी स्टॉक उस तरह से नहीं बढ़ेंगे. सन फार्मा और डॉक्टर रेड्डीज आर योइंग अप, एंड अदर नंबर ऑफ फार्मा स्टॉक्स आर स्टिल लुकिंग लाइक कि बच्चे की जान लोगे कि अभी तक प्राण ही नहीं है. स्मॉलर स्टॉक्स में स्टिल कंटिन्यू टू गो थ्रू अ बॉक्सिंग मैच. 400 पॉइंट निफ्टी बढ़ेगा, 200 पॉइंट घटेगा, उसके अंदर में स्मॉलर कैप स्टॉक्स को और बुरी तरह से पेल देंगे. सो स्मॉल स्टॉक्स मे बी इन अ लैग, and already this behavior is getting displayed. 15 stocks on the nifty, the top 15, they've kept it from going down below 15,700. अभी कोई नहीं सोचेगा 10 दिन बाद if this nifty is close to 17,000, it could go there. I'm not thumping the table yet, but I'm rather mentally ready for it, more than a possibility of 15,700 now breaking multiple bottoms at 15,700. So 17,000 आने के बाद, अरे वो तो डबल बॉटम हो गया था, आज पकड़ो ना डबल बॉटम, जिग रहा है तो आज सौदा करो, आज स्टॉप लॉस लगाओ. That's what trading is. So I say, while the confirming variables which will always come after phase lag, if you can either be profitable or you can be comfortable. कोई वो quantitative indicator मिल जाएगा, कोई ये, see, the best predictor of the stock market is the stock market itself. Economic numbers come with a lag, corporate numbers come with a lag, policy numbers are a response. The only place in the financial ecosystem, the only place where initiative has to be taken, and that initiative gets rewarded, is the stock market. Policy is a response, corporate numbers are reporting with a phase lag, economic numbers are even with a greater phase lag. The best predictor of stock market is the stock market, and the best predictor of volatility is nothing. The best models in quant finance will predict next day's volatility is going to be today's volatility, because the sum total of all error terms is supposed to be zero. That's what the model expects. So entrepreneurship and the sense of enterprise, that's what the stock market is. To try and find any confirming variables will be too late. आप कंफर्ट खोज लो, आप शादी करके घर बसा लो, आराम से जी लो, या शादी के पहले प्यार मोहब्बत कर लो. आराम से जीने के दिनों में प्यार तो खत्म हो जाएगा. Bad example maybe, but that's how I want to illustrate it. So I think the very very crowded mind right now, ये वर्ल्ड खत्म हो जाएगा, वर्ल्ड खत्म हो चुका है. मेरे को ऑलरेडी चार्ट्स में दिख रहा है नई सृष्टि शुरू हो गई है, एंड विल प्ले इट बाय द पीसेस. 17,000 के ऊपर के जाने के बाद विल थंप द टेबल, बट फ्रॉम हियर टू 17,000 ऑल्सो उल्टे फंसे रह गए मंदी में, या बार बार बेच के स्टॉप लॉस लगाते रह गए, तो 20,000 की तेजी नहीं खेल पाओगे.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sushil sir, for those closing thoughts. We did go a little overboard with the timing, but it's awesome. And guys, in case you've joined later on, we highly recommend you go and listen into this space. It will be the first pinned post at the top of our handle. So please go and check it out. And thank you so much, Nitin sir, Ashwin, Sushil sir, for joining in and sharing your thoughts on the markets. We will be doing the Twitter Spaces again next week, same time.
Thank you, Yash. Thank you, Ashwin.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye bye.